It was a television moment that left America holding its breath. Inside the Charge American Pulse studio, the spotlight centered on a tense showdown between White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. The debate unfolded around a polarizing issue, a massive military parade featuring tanks, helicopters, and even a gold-plated golf cart. What began as a standard partisan clash took an emotional turn when the story of an anonymous, forgotten veteran surfaced. The studio fell into a hush, breaths caught in throats, eyes welled with tears, and the atmosphere shifted from political to profoundly human. Viewers across the nation found themselves transfixed, witnessing a rare moment where raw emotion eclipsed ideology. Host Rachel Torres stood poised at the center of it all, her voice deep, deliberate, and commanding as she welcomed the nation into a conversation of unprecedented stakes. Tonight, she declared, the country would hear from two women on opposite sides of a deeply dividing spectacle, a military parade orchestrated by President Donald Trump, complete with tanks thundering down boulevards, helicopters slicing through the sky, and a gleaming golf cart at the center. Was it a tribute to those who served or a flashy performance masking deeper failures? Rachel made it clear that this night was not for judgment but for understanding. Seated across from each other were two women ready for battle. Rachel turned her focus to Karoline Leavitt, whose eyes glinted with resolve. With practiced poise, Leavitt leaned forward and declared that this parade was not a spectacle, but a tribute to America's warriors and a 250 years of sacrifice. She defended the administration's track record, citing raised pay for soldiers, reformed veteran services, and a commitment to never forgetting those who served. Her voice was calm, her tone firm, and she offered a faint smile as if to say the facts should speak for themselves. Across from her, Jasmine Crockett listened with arms crossed and an unreadable smirk. Rachel addressed her next, recalling how Crockett had previously called the parade a failed performance and asking what she had to say to veterans watching at home. Crockett's response came with no theatrics, just a low, unwavering voice that cut like steel. She recounted a soldier from Dallas, a man abandoned by the system he trusted, now unable to get a VA appointment. That $45 million, she argued, could go toward housing, treatment, and dignity, not pyrotechnics and stage parades. The audience reacted viscerally. One side erupted in support, the other jeered. Crockett pressed on, her voice chillingly precise. True patriotism, she said, was not in fireworks or applause, but in guaranteeing shelter, care, and respect for veterans every single day. Though Leavitt maintained her composure, she could feel the intensity in the air thickening. Rachel, with the finesse of a veteran broadcaster, redirected the heat back to Leavitt, pressing her to respond to the accusation that her administration prioritized optics over outcomes. Leavitt met the challenge head-on, voice steady and eyes locked. She acknowledged Crockett's storytelling, but pivoted swiftly to numbers. Increased VA funding, shorter wait times, thousands of homes built. She emphasized that this parade did not detract from resources, but was a reminder that their administration was acting decisively. Crockett fired back without hesitation, dismissing statistics as hollow to a veteran still waiting for a meal or a roof. Emotion, she said, was not a tactic. It was a reality lived by millions. Leavitt, unfazed, leaned in again, slowing her pace like someone laying a trap. She framed the administration's record as one of solutions, not sentiment. Jobs were created, unemployment among veterans dropped, and the system had been reformed. The parade, she insisted, was not a distraction but a declaration of progress. Rachel once again turned to Crockett, prompting her thoughts on these so-called achievements. With pointed sarcasm, Crockett replied that when the soldier from Dallas had a home and care, then she might use that word. Until then, it was all performance. Leavitt was ready. With the confidence of someone who knew the way to facts, she cited the 5,000 homes built last year alone, insisting that their record was real, not rhetoric. Crockett, for the first time, faltered just slightly. Her eyes scanned the room as if searching for a foothold. Rachel, sensing the shift, called for a break, but the tension hung heavy. As the cameras pulled back, Leavitt exhaled lightly, her eyes betraying a quiet confidence. She had landed her blows. Crockett, meanwhile, turned inward remembering her father and veterans like him, determined not to let the emotion that resonated slip away without impact. The stage returned to life as lights sliced across the room, illuminating a sea of MAGA hats and progressive banners. The clash resumed with Rachel announcing the next phase. Audience questions. The room surged like a tide breaking the shore, voices shouting, hands raised in a forest of urgency. Leavitt sat tall, her pink blazer glowing, heart steady. Crockett leaned in, embers in her gaze, waiting to strike with precision. Rachel pointed to a man in the crowd, mid-50s, worn face, military jacket adorned with medals. He stood, gripping the mic with calloused hands. His voice was deep, his words like stones cast in a silent lake. He was David, a veteran of Afghanistan, and he asked Leavitt why $45 million was being spent on a parade instead of homes for veterans like him. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Leavitt, the moment as still as a held breath. She nodded, voice soft yet firm, thanking him first, acknowledging that no words could match his sacrifice. Then she explained that the Trump administration had built thousands of homes, expanded services, and delivered action, not promises. The parade, she emphasized, was a symbol, not a cost, but a moment of honor. David nodded slowly, not convinced but not dismissive. It was a moment of suspended judgment, a test of trust. Rachel, ever the orchestrator of narrative tension, turned to Crockett with laser focus. The war of words was not over. It had only just begun. After everything just heard, Rachel Torres turned to Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and asked how she would respond. Crockett leaned forward slowly, her lips close to the microphone, her mouth tightening with words that had clearly been weighed and carried for a long time. Her voice was not loud, but every syllable struck with the precision and pain of lived experience. "David, I hear you," she began. "I've heard those promises before, seen the budgets, read the numbers, attended press conferences draped in flags and filled with slogans. But then I walk the streets of Houston and meet a soldier who fought in Iraq, who now sleeps in his car and digs through trash to eat. He doesn't need a parade. He needs a home." Her eyes locked on Karoline Leavitt without a single flinch as she continued. $45 million could have changed that man's life. But instead, we get fireworks, flyovers, and a stage that disappears the next day. They call it honor. I call it polishing an image. And if people like David still have to stand here asking that question, then clearly we haven't done enough. The crowd roared in approval, a crashing wave of cheers rising all around them. Leavitt, feeling the crowd's heat but not rattled, responded like an archer with a well-aimed arrow. She said Congresswoman Crockett tells moving stories, but she leaves out the facts. Our administration has reduced veteran homelessness to its lowest level in 15 years. We don't abandon our heroes. We build for them. And this parade is not a distraction. It's a promise that we will keep acting. Torres shifted the room's focus to another audience member, a young woman around 25 wearing a shirt that read Proud American. She clutched the microphone, her voice brimming with indignation as she asked Crockett how she could dare to call the parade a failure when it made her proud to be American. "Are you insulting us?" she demanded. Crockett offered a composed smile, cool but unwavering. "Ma'am, I'm not insulting your pride. My father was a veteran. I know what patriotism looks like. But it's not spending millions on a party while veterans go hungry. I want an America proud through action, not images." The progressive side of the audience erupted in cheers again, but Leavitt saw her opportunity and took it. She leaned forward, her voice like a polished blade. "You speak of action, Congresswoman, but we've delivered it. We've raised service members' pay, reformed the VA, created millions of jobs. If you want a proud America, look around. We're building it. This parade is a symbol of that strength." You criticize without offering any solutions. For the first time, Crockett hesitated, her eyes sweeping the room as if searching for a solid place to plant her next argument. Rachel Torres interjected with clarity, asking Leavitt how she would address the many Americans who felt the parade didn't represent them. Leavitt smiled, her voice flowing like a carefully prepared address. "Rachel, I understand those feelings, but the parade is not the end point. It's a reminder of a broader mission. We reduced veteran unemployment to 3%, expanded mental health care, and strengthened the economy. The Congresswoman divides with emotional stories. We unite with action. Crockett responded, her voice still firm but slightly dimmed. Action will be when veterans stop waiting in long lines for medical care. Right now, this administration performs instead of solves. Torres pointed to a young man in a hoodie, barely 20, who nervously asked why so many generals reportedly were skipping the parade. Leavitt answered without pause, dismissing the claim as a false rumor. Many generals, she said, had defense duties that prevented them from attending. This parade is for soldiers, not about head counts. The Congresswoman, she added, prefers to fan rumors and create division. Crockett replied slowly, her voice low, I don't have a list of generals, but I know this. Soldiers don't need a parade to feel honored. And if they're not there, maybe they see what we see. A celebration not meant for them. The studio lights flickered in anticipation as the large screen behind Rachel Torres illuminated, silencing the murmurs in the room. With a practiced smile, Torres announced they would now watch a video from a veteran wishing to share her thoughts. On screen appeared a woman in her mid-40s with her hair tied back, wearing a faded military jacket. Text at the bottom of the screen read, Sarah, Air Force veteran, Nevada. Her voice trembled with controlled fury as she spoke. This parade isn't for us, she said. I served 15 years and had to fight to get basic medical care. That $45 million could save people like me, but instead it's a party for the rich. We need action, not a performance. The room fell completely silent, then roared with reaction. Leavitt, feeling the moment but prepared, kept her eyes forward. Crockett nodded slightly. Her expression one of quiet solidarity. Rachel Torres, her voice sharpened by momentum, turned to Crockett and asked for her response. Crockett leaned forward, voice direct and focused. Sarah, I hear you. I'm sorry you had to speak like